By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried. Jerusalem, we were sick, Lord, near to dying.
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation D.C.B. CHOKMAH. We are located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Giving all thanks, glory, and praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yehudah is about. Lord of hosts is his name. And we thank all of you reoccurring listeners who come on and tune in with us on a weekly basis and think that what we have to offer is good enough for you to listen. So we give glory to the Most High God, and we thank the Creator for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We thank the Creator for having us here and having us here all healthy. We pray that the Most High God be with all of the people online, the people abroad who listen to this show and tune in every Shabbat evening to listen and to build upon what is it that is being brought forward. So thank you all once again for allowing us to reach you in your homes. I hope that the Creator will bless each and every one of you. So we're going to go into Proverbs 8, a Proverbs that famously Cohen Levy and Hashaba Yisrael instituted into part of the service. So one of my teachers and one of my mentors, Nasik, Zurishaddai, will be going over that proverb today, and also will be going over or highlighting some of parts in the Sidra YAH. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Telling Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respects to the platform on the D.C.B. channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Uriel Ben Yasaska, to the host Chief Uzael, to the Princess Chief, Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters and visitors. I greet you in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom. And I like to say Adonai Sabtai Titakufi Agiti Alteaka, O Lord, down my lips, and my mouth should declare thy praise. I'll be covering, as Chief Uzael mentioned, Proverbs 8 in the series of Proverbs I'm going through. And I'll be highlighting some parts from YAH, which is one of the, what's so interesting about Genesis, it covers, you got a lot of first occurrences in the Tanakh, the first one to do this, the first one to do, that. So you got a lot of first occurrences, but you also see, not only I get a glimpse of the creation story, but you also get an origin and building of the people of that God chose in the final analysis, and some of the great patriots and matriarchs of our lineage in history. And we get an idea of a certain type of a man's development, moral character development from Genesis. So it's really, I find this, from the school I'm from BINAH Sons of the Ancient Israelites. We find this to be one of our most main go-to books to get insight on a lot of issues and how to apply ourselves. So YAH starts at 32nd chapter of Genesis, the 4th verse, and it goes all the way to the end of the 36th chapter, to the end of the 36th chapter. So 32nd chapter, 4th verse, but I'm just going to highlight some of the things, and I'm not going to go into too much of the genealogy when we get which is towards the end of the book. But as we last left off, we know that Yaakov and his father-in-law made an agreement after a hastily exodus from his father-in-law, and not only they made an agreement, they separated as friends, where the father-in-law not only kissed his daughters, he kissed all the sons that the daughters had, and he blessed them. So from a person that wanted to do some damage, wound up leaving a blessing for our father Abraham. So, but what's interesting is the wording as it goes off. It says in the second verse, well, better yet, the beginning of the 32nd chapter, it says, and early in the morning, Laban rose and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned to his place. And Jacob went on his way. All right. So now, what's interesting that we find that Laban, he's going to a place where he could settle. But Yaakov, on the other hand, is not yet able to settle. So why would I point that out? It's because of what we find later on within the Sidra, YAH. Now, YAH means, and he sent them away. All right, so that's another issue to discuss further. But who sent who away? and when you read earlier that he was fleeing from his father-in-law. Now we also know that that same word in the PL form is used by we encountered it with Noah. Noah, the one that built the ark, and the progenitor of all mankind on earth now. So we know that Noah himself, he sent out two birds, a raven, and sent out a raven, and he sent out a dove. But the word is YAH, which is in the PL form, which means it's more intense, and you'll find that where when he sent them out, it's not supposed to return. That was the purpose of it. But though they did return, because his purpose was sending them out, hoping they didn't return, but they returned. The dove returned one time, a couple of times. It found that it was rest for her feet, to see if the water was abated from the earth. So here, Yaakov is returning, but he's sent out, but is he supposed to settle yet? And this is one of the things that we're gonna find. So usually when any word in Hebrew that's in the PL form is more an intense, formula. All right, so it's almost like doubling the action. So when we look further, it goes on to say that in the fourth, and Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, unto the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, thus shall ye say unto my lord Esau, thus said thy servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now, and I have oxen and asses and flocks, and men servants and maid servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to thy brother Esau, and moreover, he cometh to meet thee with 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks, and the herd, and the camels, into 2 camps. He said, if Esau come to the one camp and smite it, then the camp which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and the God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who saidest unto me, return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will do thee good. I am not worthy of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast shown unto thy servant. For with my staff I pass over this Jordan, and now I am become two camps. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and smite me, the mother, with the children. And thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he lodged there that night, and took of that which he had with him, a present for Esau, his brother. All right. So now, this sounds like something different, that he sent besides what we find enumerated here, which is, the goats and the she goats and, the different cattle. All right. And, and it gave them the instructions that, pass by droves, and put space between each drove. And he commanded, the foremost saying, when Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, whose art thou, and whither thou goest, and who are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, they are thy servants Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my Lord, even unto Esau. And behold, he is also behind us. And he commanded the second in the same manner. And then after that, it says in the 21st verse, and you shall say, moreover, behold, thy servant is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the presence that goeth before me, and afterwards I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept me. So the presence passed before him, and he himself lodged that night in the camp. So now we have a element that we get ready. A lot of things going on. I just want to highlight a couple of things. One of the things that he resulted to three areas. One, he goes there, he tried to, appease him with presents. Some people say bribe, whatever the case is. You could discuss that further. But he sent, gifts. Also, not only that, he prepared for war. He divided the camps. Not only that, then he set up prayer. All right. And one of the analogies, now we have several analogies where we are related to for multitude, dust, stars, sand. Why, in this case, Yaakov mentioned sand, as for multitude. Well, we talk about, stars, and we know, for multitude, and we know that, you can't count them. And the brilliancy and everything, and some of the qualities, and we talk about the dust, for multitude, which is impervious. But why, in this case, he uses sand. So you can further discuss it, with the teachers. But I would like to leave this here with you, that sand itself. That when we think about the sand, we think about the beaches. We know today got beach erosion, but normally sand is insignificant by itself. Each grain is insignificant, but together it can hold back the waters and rushing waves in the seas. All right, in most cases that's what it does. So if we look at the Genesis, when it talk about of course the dry land appear. And he passed a decree where the water should not trespass. All right. So when we look at that sand as an individual is nothing. We could hold it. It's nothing. But collectively, it's a force that can withstand. It can withstand a most powerful force. So not only its numbers, but it shows that the collective togetherness of the sand. Then we have some power within it. And one thing, and it holds back one of the most powerful elements, which be the water, in that sense. So here that Esau is on his way coming with 400 men. We don't know. It will appear, that he's coming for war. That's what we're first to see, that his peer is coming for war. What's interesting that, as I said in the past before, that he sent, the messengers, which is the angels. He just met two camps of angels. He sent the messengers. We use the word malach and makim, which is the same word for angels. And when he sent them, he never seen in the story where they left. He only seen where they returned. And you say, well, how did he get there and get back so quickly? So that's something to consider, about the divinity of these individuals, because they was dispatched, but you never seen, when they leaving. They say, when we came to him, because he's found out they returned, and they say, when we came to him. So you only could presuppose they got there and they came back, but it was just that quickly. So there's something to consider in that sense. There's a lot of talk on commentaries in reference to their mission. And as we look further, is that sometimes we can't, we're not supposed to sit back and leave everything to God without trying to do our part that's required of us. So Yaakov did his part, and also the thing is that sometimes he could prejudge an individual, and what make him prejudge an individual? Because of the guilt. Now we know if we just look at the text alone, just the text, the Tanakh, we say he's going for 20 years, give or take a year, of travel to and from. All right, that's what he stayed with Laban. Way up the rabbinic thing where they say he's going for 34 years, which would be, according to rabbinic teachings, that he hid out in the schools of Shem and Ava, who lived at that time. Shem being the son of Noah. So if that's the case at that time, that's something, I don't focus on as much. I just focus on more so the text in this instance now that we know he was going for 20 years with his father-in-law, Laban. All right. And so imagine that this hostility, the way he left the land running. He left Laban running. Now he back in coming to the land at God's, command. And yet he still remember how he left. Though he had all that assurity, he told Laban, that went for God, you'd have did me bad, worse. Made me leave with nothing. Why is it now that he feel with Esau that I really need to invoke God? You didn't read when he ran away from Laban that he invoked God. God came in the picture. Could it be, and it's just you could discuss it, but could it be because Laban did everything, his father-in-law did everything wrong against him while he tried to be honorable, but with Esau, he did things dishonorable with Esau, and that's what you're worried about. So that his demons come to haunt him. All right, so those are some of the things to consider as we go further. Then after that, it said he lodged, 22nd verse as I just read. It said so the president passed over before him, and he lodged himself, and he himself lodged that night in the camp, and he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 handmaids and his 11 children and passed over the fort of the Jabbok. Now, he stayed in the camp, but he couldn't sleep. He said he did this at night, and he brought them over. So this is just something to think about as you go forward, because you usually have your children leave in daylight. Now it says rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 handmaids and his 11 children and passed over the 40-yard brook. I thought he had 12, 11 boys, 1 girl. Something to consider. And it said, and he took them and sent them. He took them and sent them over the stream and sent over that which he had. And Jacob was left alone. All right. So if he took them there and then he sent them, which one is it? Did he go across and come back? And if he brought him across and came back, what did he come back for? If you feel danger is there, wouldn't you, as the head of your household, want to be at the head in the front and confront the danger head on? So this is something to discuss further as you go forward. And then how is it that this man, Yaakov, who's terrified about the brother Esau and just had prayed and prepared for war, he's on the other side by himself? How do a man wind up being alone with no other servant or anybody with him? And then while he's alone, it's still at night. Most people will love company at night. So why is it that he having no company at night? I know me personally, when I'm in the house by myself, I close the bedroom door. Now I got ADT, I got a lock on the door, and I got prayers. But I close the bedroom door. And I don't expect anything to be coming, but I'm prepared just in case something comes. So how is it that he knows something coming and he does things that seems a little bit different, a lot different from what would normally be expected of an individual? So those things are, it's worth looking into. And then it said that in the 25th verse, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was strained as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go except thou bless me. Now, several things that I like to bring out here, and that, the points I like to bring out. One, they said a man. If he was alone, where does man come from? That's number one. Later on in books, we find out it was an angel, godlike being. Different prophets says that, and we read, that he was called a godlike being or angel, and he was in the presence of angels already. So we figure it's an angel, but it's at night. What brought about the fight? Now we know it's a physical fight, but then he had a mental fight going on within himself. But we know this had to be a physical fight with an individual. And what set it off? And then myself being a martial artist, they ain't doing no kicking, no punching, no boxing. No, what they doing is wrestling up close and personal, because you could wrestle a lot longer than you could box and kick. Because wrestling today, they go by matches. They have a time limit for the match, but they don't have rounds like boxing where you might have 3-minute rounds and stuff like that. When wrestling, they wrestle, X amount, and then they say, well, okay, if nobody win now, then it's over. We're going to call it a draw, or whatever the case is. They have a time limit. But you can wrestle a lot longer than you can punch, kick, weave, and bob. So that's so it makes sense that you're gonna wrestle for a long time. And also in the dark, boxing, it's hard to hit something if you can't really see it. So it's hard to kick something if you really can't see it. So now you actually involved. Once you touch something, you hold on to it and grip on it and don't let it go. Because I can't see when I'm fighting. I got an idea what kind of form I'm fighting, but I'm gonna hold on to it, till I can, figure out, what's the next move. And then the individual, which we would say for the angel and just to save time, said, "Let me go." Could the dawn breaketh. What daylight got to do with it when you started rumbling in the first place? Who hit first? Who attacked first? Who made the move first? We could assume when they say a man wrestled with him, and we look at the when we look at it, it says there wrestled a man with him. So that means that would imply that the attack came from the opposition, not from Yaakov. It would apply that he was actually attacked, in this area there. He ain't looking to start anything, but he's trying to finish it. So when we look at this area here and consider those different points, another thing I'd like to bring out is that when you say touch the hollow of his thigh, the Hebrew word, has a different connotation. So, I just leave those open for people that deal with, the Hebrew word, which brings a more in-depth interpretation on the actual part of the body that he actually touched, because for the nicety of the language, certain things is not expressed as carnal or vivid as it is, and say, in the English language that we speak today. So that being said, that he wanted a blessing out of it. What could a man bless you with, and do you see what did he have to bless you with at that time? In the 20th verse, and he said unto him, "What is thy name?" Now, did he look to find out information? And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for thou hast striven with God and with men, and hast prevailed." All right. So how did he strive with God? We know how he strive with a man. All right. The strive was with his father-in-law. All right. We've seen that, how he prevailed there. All right. He escaped from Esau, but at this time. So the only real battle he had in confrontation was with his father-in-law at that time. And then who's God? I mean, is he trying to fight against the creator of heaven and earth, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, the same God that he asked for help from? Or you recognize that this celestial being, that's not actually a human being, but a celestial angelic being, that he caused him to submit at this point in time. Even though he hurt, and imagine, he's hurt in the battle, wounded in the battle, and the guy that hurt him, and just from a touch, he said, "What kind of touch is that?" And then he said, "That what the day got to do with it? Why is it I got to leave here before daybreak? How long have you been rumbling? How long you been at this rumble?" There's a lot of questions we talked about on that area. And then when we go further down, it says that in the 30th verse, and Jacob asked him and said, "Tell me, I pray thee, thy name." And he said, "Wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name?" And he blessed him there. All right. So Jacob was satisfied with just that, and we know he named the place. All right. But another verse in the 32nd verse, like this, we know Jacob named the place anyway, and tell you why he named it. But 32nd verse, it says, "The sun rose upon him as he passed over Penuel, and he limped upon his thigh." Now, and then in the 33rd verse, "Therefore the children of Israel eat not the sinew of the thigh pain, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh, even in the sinew of the thigh vein. All right, they refer to it as the sciatic nerve, the Hebrew that they use for it, they interpret it as that. But those that, follow a strict kashrut type, diet, they usually above the genitals and upward. That's what they normally have as the meats that you buy at most of the kosher butchers. From above the genitals, just like above the genitals and backwards, like the sirloins and all that kind of stuff and things back of that nature, that they don't have, and unless they surgically take out that vein. But we know that it's a law, that custom, not a law. I should make it clear. It's a custom that was developed only because of this act here. This, you say, well, why would this not be included in the dietary laws, which we read about in the Leviticus in the 11th chapter, hundreds of years later? Why is that law is not included in there about don't eat the sinew of the shank when we have a sacrifice the whole Pesach lamb, and we're supposed to partake of that? All right, so so that is normally those that follow a rabbinic approach or a traditional approach follow where they don't eat that unless that vein is taken out. But this is where it's come from, and they don't say, and the children of Israel tell you why they don't eat it, simply because not that it was unkosher, not that it wasn't clean, because as testimony of their father Jacob and his encounter with that particular angel at that time. That's why they don't eat it. How long did they make it law? And then some people look at a custom being in existence so long that it becomes a law per se. But we don't read where the Creator stated as a law. So I just want to make that clear in those areas there, where this comes from. We know that when Jacob lift up his eyes and he looked, and behold, in the 33rd chapter, Esau came with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah, unto Rachel, unto the handmaid, 2 handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. All right, the order is important when you look at this here and see what's going on. All right. And he passed over before him and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother Esau. Now, he had the limp already from the battle. So he don't look like all bold and robust. And yet we know when he was on the run, when he moved that rock over the well, he had to be some kind of robust and looked manly in that area. But here, as he's just walking, he's walking with the limp. And why did the fight even have to take place? The wrestling had to take place. Like would it be to keep Jacob from running away again, making sure that he confront Esau, delay him? And if it was a delay tactic, why didn't the Creator say you stay there and meet Esau? So the reason why the encounter took place is a question for debate and discussion. Because if he'd have ran and avoided Esau altogether when coming to 400 men, would have seemed premature, then that, could he possibly meet him sometime later on? Because then it'd been, you figure, 20 years, and he still had this fear. Also, the thing is, if the Creator want him to meet Esau, why didn't he just go straight out and say, stop, your brother Esau's coming, you need to go ahead and confront him? So these are some real questions to discuss. And though, he wound up meeting his brother Esau, and he has still used strategy, because he was afraid, didn't know Esau's mindset. So sometimes judging prematurely is very, very bad. We had a statement in BINAH King that condemnation without full investigation is a very bad policy. So we got to constantly investigate thoroughly, and full and impartial investigation. So here it is that we know he met and he bowed 7 times. Wouldn't one bow be enough? And bowing, it got a lot of mystic stuff. I'm not even going to the mystic stuff that they talk about the 7 bows and all that stuff and the number 7. I'm not even going to entertain that in this talk, but I just want to highlight some points. Is that the pain was so excruciating that he only could take so many steps before he had to really get down and fall down and collapse. So and collapsing, sometimes when you get weak, you try to hide your weaknesses by doing something else. So maybe his bow was maybe to cover up the weakness of his limp and his injury. Those are some of the things we can consider as we go. All right, and then the 4th verse. I'm just going to speak on this because a couple of things I want to speak on before I go into Proverbs. I know it can be a little lengthy, but these chapters that have so much information within it, these different sidros. And it said, 4th verse, and Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Esau himself, you see Yaakov approaching Esau and bowed 7 times. Esau himself ran to meet him and embrace him. So you see your brother. He looked like he barely could make it. And we are twins. We the same age. I wonder what happened to him. I mean, I'm still in shape and we are twins. How's this guy could barely walk? Keep falling down. I know he bound to me, but I know that, the cover up, what all that possibly could, be. He hiding something, and I could see that he is not the man he was when he left. I could see that, but in what way do I see it? That's another question of discussion. And so, and he kissed him, and they say that, and when he kissed him, embraced him, right? They both wept, they both cried. Why each one is crying? Always a matter of debate. All right. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the children and said, who are these with thee? And he said, the children whom God had graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaids came and they near, and they and their children, and they bowed down. Leah also and her children came near and bowed down. And afterward came Joseph near and Rachel, and they bowed down. All right, so the order is unique here because now you only have one child mentioned, which is Joseph. You don't have none of that. You don't have Reuben mentioned by name. You don't have the handmaids mentioned by name. All right, you only had the mothers and Leah, the matriarch, Leah, Rachel, and Joseph is mentioned before his mother. That's something to consider going forward into the next sidra. And they bowed down, and he said, what meanest thou by all this camp which I have met? And now, then the people already was instructed to tell him what was the purpose of these groves that went ahead of him, unless it's another issue, midrash issue that people might want to focus on. But in the Peshat, we know, which is in simple, plain, interpretation, it was told why these droves were sent and what was their purpose. And he said, to find favor in the sight of my Lord. Wow, I'm hearing it from you. I know what they say, because I got 400 guys rolling with me. They might figure I'm a caravan raider, perhaps. Being I've been misjudged often, people could be misjudging. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Let that which thou hast be thine. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee, if now I found favor in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For as much as I have seen thy face, as one seeth the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me, take, I pray thee, my gift, that which is brought to thee, because God had dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. I just want to focus on that thing because there's a lesson to be taught there. And as we move forward just a little bit, one of the lessons is, a guy say, how you doing? Man, I got tons of stuff. All right. That'd be like, I'm bragging. Man, I got so much stuff. Man, I got tons. I mean, I got more stuff than I can even begin to count. All right. When another guy say, I have enough, that means that it's not the quantity that I have. It's the sufficiency of my needs that are met. That is all I desire, and that's all necessary for me. So Esau explained that, hey, I'm a big shot. Hey, I'm rolling heavy. Well, on the other hand, Jacob himself, God bless me, whatever God gave me, I'm satisfied with what God gave me. So whatever your environment is, that's a lesson to be learned too. That are you satisfied with enough of what God gave you, or you want to actually say and brag about how much you acquire? So those are some lessons there. All right. We're going to skip on there because I know it's a little long here. I'm trying to speed up just a little bit more. We know that, they wanted to, Esau wanted to be a bodyguard for him, everything like that, because rough terrain, where he's traveling. But, they graciously agreed to separate and go their own way. All right. So in the 18th verse, we know, that we never, we don't know Jacob was supposed to follow in return, but we know they meet up later. 18th verse, it says, Jacob came in peace to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. When he came from Padamaram and encamped before the city, and he brought the parcel of ground where he had spread his tent at the hands of the children of CHOKMAH, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it El Elohei Yisrael. Now, we know where he's supposed to have went. We know where he was told where to return, and we know where he made a vow at. So now, considering all that, where he's supposed to go and where he made the vow at, where this man is at this present time, that don't seem like the same location. And he purchased, a parcel of land, 100 pieces of money. It's not shekels in the sense of the weight that, let's say, his grandfather Abraham purchased the cave of Machpelah. He's out there, so his price not only, let's say 100 pieces, which is different from 400 shekels, but 100 pieces of, normally the currency at that time would be silver, but it's not even in the weight and the volume of 1 shekel coin. So that's why the word shekel is not, used in that sense here. So that's just something to consider as you're going forward. 34th verse, chapter. We know about Dinah, and I'm going to focus on that. So much controversy in that. Then after you deal with that, I'm going to move on to the Proverbs. And 34th chapter. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had born unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her. He took her and laid with her and humbled her. And his soul did cleave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. And he loved the damsel and spoke comfortably unto the damsel. And Shechem spoke unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. Now Jacob heard that he had defiled, we used the word Tamar rather, Dinah, his daughter, and his sons were with his cattle in the field. And Jacob held his peace until they came. Now, what's interesting, and the reason I'm gonna focus on this story a little bit and into this story and then go to the Proverbs, because everything's so much stuff to go into here. And and I'm sure that you could discuss it further with your various teachers and your various congregations if you have any questions. But one of the things is this, that we already know she's Jacob's daughter. But why they say Leah's daughter, who she born to Jacob? That's a question. It just say if she's Leah's daughter, we know it's Jacob's daughter. And we say Jacob's daughter, we know it's, he had it by Leah. So why does that extra information being conveyed? And then being the only daughter, we only hear about her now in the land of settlement, not even being presented to Esau in their meeting. So that's what we read there. So that's another thing to say, well, wow, what's going on here? And then not only that, she had nothing but brothers to hang around. She didn't go looking out for a man. She went to see the daughters of the land. Like I said before, and when I focus more on the Sidra, is that because she had the gene pool of her mother, the matriarch Sarah, saying, look, Sarah can win souls. I can do the same thing. I got that kind of spirit. Sometimes, it might jump, and she's the first daughter. She's the actual first daughter born in our society. First daughter that we read about, born in our society from dealing with the three patriarchs. And she happened to be the only daughter, of the time since the patriarchs. All right, the only daughter, the only granddaughter, considering with the patriarch. So that's that's a heavy thing to consider in that area. And then we know that she was snatched up and raped. There's got a lot of people, they had debates on both sides of that. I'm just going to be brief with time, and you can further discuss it. That she's raped, that's, my view, Crown Prince Zurishaddai view, and also a lot of other people view in reference to that she actually was raped. She was confronted and abducted. And I spoke before that they had a thing, and I think as late as in the 1960s, in Ethiopia, they used to grab women into in the 20th century, the same way, snatch them up, grab them up. In certain African countries, they still do that until this very day, in certain African countries. So it was a common thing, where morality be a little slack, and the thing was that more people was more afraid of ancient antiquity of adultery than it was a murder. And then also, he has certain rules of conduct that existed amongst ancient nations that would be unseemly even by some ancient nations without it being written out. But you find out that Jacob heard she was defiled and he held his peace. I mean, wouldn't a father, your only daughter, wouldn't you just go ballistic and say, "Wow, that's my baby, that's my daughter"? They did what? But he remained calm. So that shows that Jacob went through a change. His name was changed to Israel, which means, a champion or a Saul, prince, with God, and the word Lerosh, we used to say Lerosh for the chief or for the head, that has the same letters as, Yisrael, by the way. So he's using his head now. And he said, "Oh, I'm gonna wait, hold my peace." All right, and you notice that he heard, and that's what that's what it is. It says he heard that he had defiled her. That means that news traveled fast. Before the negotiation, that news traveled to Jacob. All right. And now the father of this prince of Shechem, all right, went out, to speak to Jacob, speak with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved and they were very wroth because he had wrought a vile deed in Israel, lying with Jacob's daughter, which ought not be which thing ought not to be done. All right, now it's going to be a lot of things. The reason I want to focus on this before I go into it because there's just so much stuff going on with today's situation, so in the times that we live in today. But what we have here is a major issue, and that's why I'm gonna pretty much stop in this, in this chapter. That when you have Jacob himself holding his peace, he heard it. How he got the message? Something, word traveled. The son's out in the field. Jacob didn't call him. He held his peace till his son come in. They heard the message. Now, did he send for him? We don't see clearly where he sent for him. All right. He just held his peace until they came. All right. And then they was very grieved, and then you see the term, the emotions, grieve, and then wrath. When you're grieving, you're passive. When you're grieving, you're not going to act. But when you're wrath, when you really, now you done got heated and hot. So now you're ready to do something. You're ready to act. So when you're grieving, it's important to understand the concept. When you're grieving, you're not ready to act. You're caught up in the moment of your sorrow. So you're more passive. But when you're angry, you're ready to bust loose something. And that's what happened with the children in this case. All right. Well, Jacob, remained cool till they came. And sometimes Jacob could have said something, but sometimes as a leader, you might say, well, look, I need to get some counsel. Even if the counsel only coming from my sons, I need to hear other people's voices and opinion before I make this move. All right. That is usually a prudent leader. You always try to say, okay, I got my feelings. I'm into my feelings. I feel a certain way, but this is going to affect other people. So therefore, since it's going to affect other people, whatever moves I make going to be, contingent on the people that depend on me. So therefore, I must hold my peace and then see what's going on. Take it from there. And it says, and Haman spoke with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her unto him to wife, and make ye marriages with us. Give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you, and ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you, and dwell and trade ye therein, and get your possessions therein. And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, let me find favor in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me, I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according to as ye say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife. Before I get to the 13th verse, I want to just bring it out because there's so much stuff going on that leads to a situation that's more contemporary today. And that's why I want to focus on that, as we go into the Proverbs 8, which I won't spend that much time in, is that one, where's Dina? What did they do? They got her locked away, got her locked up in the house, got her. Now we know that Shechem, when he did what he did, he abused her, and then he tried to talk smooth to her, tried to talk to her heart and win it over. And sometimes the victim will be more considerate of the abuser. So this is a case where that he tried to win her heart over, but first he did everything he did, whatever he did, just dogged her. And most people, today would know when we say just dog. See, rape is one thing. A simple rape is one thing. But they use two terms, that he forced to lay with her and then he punished her. That's what so they afflicted her. So use two terms with Dinah, when we look at it very carefully. So it wasn't just strictly he just wind up having, relationship with her. But he also tried to, as they say, dog her out. That's what he did. And now he feel like he wants her. She's different from anybody else ever encountered. Now, mind you, Hittites, not Hittites, Hivites. And so now at this time he want to marry her. And then what the father say? The father comes in, Haman's father, Shechem's father, Kamor, which just means donkey, Kamor. He comes in and trying to arrange a marriage between Yaakov's daughter and his son. He completely disregard the atrocity and the act that's actually done to the girl. He completely disregard that the girl is still in their care. Completely disregard how this thing came about with Jacob's daughter and his son. He don't care anything about the girl's feelings. He cared all about his son's feelings. Now that is a very, thought-provoking thing, in light of all that. And then not only does he doesn't care about the girl's feelings, only his son's feelings. He don't even bring up the issue that his son was even wrong in what he did. Don't even bring that up. That's not the case. Let's make a deal, and I'm gonna give you the best part of the deal verbally, and we can become one people. So if this is the way you treat one of your people, then why would I want to be part of that? All right. So all this here, is something that discussed even deeper. And being as a nation Israel growing, we got to consider more depths into relationships. So the 13th verse, it said, and the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father with guile and spoke because he had defiled Dinah, their sister, and said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our daughter to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. Only on this condition will we consent unto you, if you will be as we are, that every male of you be circumcised. Then will we give our daughter unto you, and we will take your daughter to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. All right. So, without going through the whole story, they agree. They agree to go ahead and do this thing. All right, and go through the circumcision. Now, the son's answer. What does this remind you of? When we think about Laban, now these boys was raised up in Padam Aram. They raised up over there. Their first education was over there with their father Laban. And Laban was a character. He tried to make his grandkids some kind of character. So they raised up on that side. And also, not only they raised up on that side, we know that like I said, and they agreed, and it was on one accord. The answer with Gal, but we don't know what would be the outcome when they answered with guile. What they mean by guile? We know now, I've known about the story, what happened, that on the third day, when they were, saw from the circumcision, that Shimon and Levi, and that's what we read here. Two of the sons of Jacob, Shimon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each his sword and came upon the city unawares and slew all the males. And they slew Hamor and Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went forth. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city because they had defiled their sister. They took their flock and their herds and their asses and that which was in the city and that which was in the field and all their wealth and all their little ones. Their wives took they captive and spoiled even all that was in the house. All right, now before I go to the last thing to finish this out, before I go into the Proverbs, what we have here, we're going to the 30th verse. All right, you have the first instance of genocide. This is the first instant in Torah. That's why we always, from my group, BINAH, Zaki, and Sons of the Ancients, we always love Genesis. This is the first instance that you have a thing of genocide. And strangely enough, not that I'm using it as a platform for today's scenario. I'm not using it as a platform. I want to make it perfectly clear, that I'm not using it for considering talking about the state of Israel in reference to Palestine, anything like that. Nothing, because I explained earlier my position on that issue. All right. So it's not that. So I don't want people to take it out of context. But the first instance of genocide we have of a particular people, we think about Pharaoh want to commit genocide partially with all the males, but that's not, that's a little different. Here, we was in his land, having his land, but here it is that the sons of Jacob, mainly Shimon and Levi, slew every male in the third day. Now you say, well, how many people's in the city? How many did one guy kill? We didn't read where the other sons, like Reuben, Judah, and the rest of them all the way down. You didn't read where they slayed anybody. You just read, they went and said, okay, we're going to snatch up all the rest of this stuff, man, because all the men are dead, so we might as well just snatch it on up. All right. That's what they did. So they both agreed that, hey, they didn't feel sympathetic for the guys that their brothers slain, and they was not sympathetic concerning the rest of the people that didn't have anything to do with that act. It's a real serious situation to be, to consider and discuss in light of things, positions we take in life going forward, especially in these days and time. So this is some of the things that we have in Genesis, which is a real terrible story that happened, and it's terrible to happen to any people. And it goes on to say in the 30th verse, and Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, all right, ye have troubled me to make me odious in the inhabitants of the land, even unto the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I being few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and smite me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my household. And they said, should one deal with our sister as with a harlot? All right. Now, what they said, who did Yaakov address? He addressed just two people. Two people he addressed. Shimon and Levi. He didn't address Reuben. He didn't address Yehudah. He didn't address Joseph. And you figure, Dinah has 6 brothers from the same mother, all right, which is Issachar and Zebulon. He didn't address those guys either. All right, so, and the handmaids and their children from Zilpah, Gad and Asher, didn't address those. He didn't address Joseph, but he addressed them. So what we find out there, that that it ends. I'm just going to close. I'm getting ready to go to Proverbs 8, but I want to just bring out this here. We know the story don't end there. After they leave, God put a terror on the people where they don't come after them and try to wipe them out and everything like that. Jacob told them to get rid of the strange gods amongst them. Now, is that the strange gods that Raquel brought back? Or was it some other gods they decided to pick up over there? Other people of the other spot. Most people, consider it's the same ones that Raquel had brought back from the place where her father lived. That was his gods that he had told him to hide under the oak tree. We read also in the same particular portion that Laban, in this particular portion we read as it closes out, is that God not only put the fear upon him, but then Raquel's getting ready to have a baby and she died, in childbirth, and she named the son Benoni. And Yaakov, first time you read where Yaakov actually intercepted the name and called him Benjamin, son of my right hand. So what's interesting is that, when she's in pain, why would you want your son to remember your pain? Every time you call his name, you got to remember, I caused my mother pain and sorrow. Jacob himself realized that's not where a child should grow up. So he's calling him son of my right hand. It's Jacob himself, whose name was actually changed to Israel again, decided to make a right when he himself didn't have a problem with his mother bearing a curse if a curse came upon him. And then decided to say, nigga, we got to consider everything, going forward. I want to try to step things up. I don't even want my son to grow up with regrets of I caused my mother's death. But whereas Jacob, when he went to steal the blessing, he had no worry that we see concerning if it was a curse, that his mother take the curse. So that sounds like Jacob made a different improvement. You could discuss it more. I don't really have time to go into it now. But we read about that. We know also Isaac died in this particular portion, and that Esau and Jacob buried him. So it shows that Esau himself didn't go and try to fulfill what he had, said he was going to do, more than, basically more than a half, short of a century, almost a century ago. You find out that Esau didn't try to fulfill what hurt him so bad, with Jacob. They both buried, Isaac together. Also, I'm going to caution people too, because books, like I said, things are not in chronological order. So we know that when Joseph is taken in the next chapter, Isaac is still alive. We know that. So the book, it's not in the chronological order. The situation is not in chronological order. We know that Isaac is still alive when Joseph is taken down in Egypt. All right. So there's a lot of times, people will look at the book and this chapter come behind that chapter and they think, hey, that's the order of events. No, that's the priority information that the Creator will have Moses share with us. All right. So we're going to Proverbs 8 chapter. And I'll try to get through that a little fast. I know it's one that the great late Hakon Levy had used in the opening part of the services for Hashaba, and a lot of congregations might still use it. Reading Proverbs 8 chapter concerning wisdom, and this is I'm gonna be a little brief in this chapter, but there's a lot to be considered in these 36 verses of this particular Proverbs. All right, so if you're ready, you can start off.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Give me 1 second right here. We go into the book of Proverbs, chapter 8, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Doth not wisdom call and understanding put forth her voice? In the top of high places, by the way, whether past me she standeth. Besides the gates at the entry of the city, at the coming in at the doors she crieth aloud. Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O ye thoughtless, understand prudence, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart.
I stop right there before going any further. I stop right there. All right, before we go to the 6th. All right, the difference between the 7th chapter of Proverbs and this part of Proverbs, the 8th chapter, is that one, immorality is done in the dark. That's number one. That we have, all the negative immorality is pictured as offering and lures and enticement in the dark. That's Proverbs 7, because everything taking place in the deep of the night. All right, and not only that, we have the chapter basically falls in the and while wisdom itself is saying, look, I'm in the open, daylight time. I'm in the broad places. I'm not hiding. I'm there. You know what I mean? And I'm extending an invitation. This is wisdom. I'm extending an invitation. Morality ain't extending no invitation. It's trying to seek for a victim. You know what I mean? But wisdom looking for candidacy to try to promote them. That's a difference there. And that's what I talk about in the daytime, and it's in the top of, places, I'm up high. Everybody can see me. I'm plain, transparent. You know what I mean? I'm not covered up, with a whole lot of stuff. So this is what it is, And then when we look at it, this chapter going to be dealing with not only wisdom's invitations, we're going to deal with its virtues, we're going to deal with places of honor and wisdom's plea. So that's what we're going to go through in there. And it said wisdom call out to the old men, saying, look, Proverbs 7, I discern amongst the simple one, a man void of all understanding. All right, dumbest of the dummies. Wisdom said, so immorality, look for the weakest link. Wisdom saying, I'm taking everybody that want to come aboard. Big difference. So when we look at the contrast between Proverbs 7 and Proverbs 8, then wisdom itself saying, look here, I'm here, and I want you. But then we got to understand what the wisdom is and everything like that as we go further. But go ahead, 6th verse.
Verse 6, it reads, Hear, for I will speak excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. For my mouth shall utter truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing perverse or crooked in them. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge.
Hold right there before we go any further. I'm not trying to trick you up. I'm not trying to, deceive you. I mean, when I say something to you, you're going to understand that this is the right thing to do. And they're going to be along moral codes of ethics. So what I'm doing here going to build you up, and they're going to tear you down. And so what I'm saying here is that I'm giving you a guide to live by. That's what I'm saying. So though I'm calling to you and I want you to benefit yourself. It's like a teacher wants their students to be better. They ain't want to stay the same. They don't want to be beneath forever. They want to be better. The teacher get more of a reputation when they say, well, I turned out a student, man, that got far better than me and went far better places than me. That's the reputation that he could live with, and be happy with. That he produced a product better than him. And how many people could produce a product better than themselves? So that's one of the great things about that. So this is wisdom here. All right, and let's go a little bit further in the 10th verse.
Verse 10 reads, Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all things desirable are not to be compared unto her.
All right, so now we just left where the truth and wisdom say, I'm not doing no double talk. I'm not trying to be an entertainer. And then that where's the real value? Where's the real value in it? It's not I'm not a stock of cheap entertainment. This is wisdom is describing itself at. All right. But we're going to go from the 12th verse.
Verse 12 reads, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of devices.
Keep going.
The fear of Yehovah is to hate evil. Pride and arrogancy and the evil way and the forward mouth do I hate. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. I am understanding, power is mine.
Hold right there. Stop right there. So wisdom itself let you know, that this is who I hang out with. You're known by the company you keep. And wisdom saying, hey, look, these my homeboys. Homegirls, or whatever you want to call it, because most of the things of virtues is always in the feminine gender anyway. Da'at, CHOKMAH, BINAH, all those is feminine, So, say this is who I hang out with. I don't hang out with, debauchery, Elizabeths and stuff like that, and, evil, wickedness. I don't hang out with that crowd. That's not my circles. So wisdom giving you identity and saying, look, who I hang out with, but who I'm really interested in and who I hang out with is two different things. I said, I'm hanging out with these guys because this is who I roll with. But I know that who really needs me. And that's what wisdom is talking about right here. But let's go a little bit further.
It reads, verse 15, by me kings reign and princes decree justice. By me princes rule and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. I love them that love me, and those that seek me earnestly shall find me.
Hold it there. Now, we got some problems here, but we're gonna touch on it. But we got more good than problems. So we're gonna just hit a couple things here. All right. So right now, wisdom saying, look, I make people great. That's what it's saying. This is some of my resume. Wisdom giving you a resume, just a little bit of his resume. How I operate with other people, But then you got to be careful now, because in the 17th verse, wisdom said, I love them that love me. Now, they ain't God now. I want you to know now, this ain't God. You know what I mean? Because God said, he had no delight in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked should turn from his evil ways. All right? But wisdom said, look here, I'm a little bit biased too, I mean, if you don't love me, then I don't love you either. So we got to always, and that's why I always say, well, when I think about King David and compared to Solomon, King David compared to Solomon, is that Solomon was in pursuit of wisdom and David was in pursuit of the Lord. Because God, even when you don't like God, God is still concerned about your well-being. And if you don't love God, God is still concerned about your well-being. That's why he affords us second chances. But wisdom saying, look here, if you love me, I'm going to love you and really make you better. Well, God plan from the beginning is to make us better. But but we're gonna focus on wisdom here, because wisdom giving her identity and a resume. Because a lot of times we talk about wisdom, but we don't see the character of wisdom. And when we talk about it, and yet we all work on trying to get that, that wisdom itself. And that's one of the things that we got to consider. All right, but it's saying that these prominent people, kings, reign by me. That's how king hang in there. But he got some wisdom. Yeah, it ain't by his might. He ain't gonna stay there long. And he's gonna be forgotten quickly or be overthrown. And princes decree justice, and rule. In other words, I got to have a standard. You got to have a standard. We say when we observe Torah, it's the highest moral code of ethics. Now we're gonna get to why Torah and wisdom could be one and the same. All right. Continue the 18th verse.
Verse 18 reads, riches and honor are with me, yea, enduring riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my produce than choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of justice, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and that I may fill their treasuries.
Hold right there, hold it. In other words, you ain't gonna be broke. You ain't gonna be lacking. You know, that's what he said. But if you want to follow my path, my instruction, this the route I'm taking. You know, and that's the thing. We used to have a saying in BINAH that there's a downward road crowded with unbelieving souls, but there's a path straight and narrow. And every now and then you'll see a traveler. You know, that means that's a lot of times, you know, people, you know, would take the easy downward road because there's less resistance, but it'd be the wrong area, you know. But wisdom is something that you got to actually step up and reach for. That's why sometimes one proverb says, wisdom is too high for a fool, because you got to get up and reach for it. You can't stay down there and get it. All right. So, but let's go a little bit further.
It reads, verse 22, Yahuwah made me as the beginning of his way, the first of his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or even the earth was. When there was no depths, I was brought forth. When there was no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the beginning of the dust of the world.
Hold it right there. Before we get to 27. But this is a long area part right here. Wisdom saying, look here. If I have a born on date, I'm gonna give you something. I can't place the date. I can't place the date. But I'm gonna tell you to know who I was ahead of. So I can't give you an exact date. Now, if the Creator made wisdom, if the Creator created wisdom, then what do God work with? You know what I mean? So what do God work with if he created it? Because wisdom said, look, I know I was created. I'm not God. So what did God create? You know, and we're going to find out a little bit more. Because wisdom trying to explain herself and identify herself. Because most people, when you ask them, who are you? They can't explain who they are. Well, hell, my name is so-and-so and so-and-so. So, and what else you want to know? That's it. Well, I live on so-and-so. That's what you want to know? All right, we do. You know, and you got a problem to find out who they are. Because most people don't know who they are. And wisdom in itself is explaining, this is what I am. And it's not done yet. All right, let's keep going.
It reads, verse 27.
Right.
When he established the heavens, I was there. When he set a circle upon the face of the deep. When he made firm the skies above. When the fountains of the deep showed their might. When he gave to the sea his decree, that the waters shall not transgress his commandment. When he appointed the foundations of the earth. Then I was by him as a nursling, and I was daily all delight, playing always before him. Playing in his habitable earth, and my delights are with the sons of men.
Hold it right there, hold it. So, wisdom said he was the Creator's delight. What is the delight? Torah, the instructions, the blueprint. Before you build anything, before you make anything, you have a sketch of a blueprint. And everything got to go according to the will and laws of the Creator. So the Creator had a blueprint from the very beginning. And things must fall within this blueprint. But one corner of the blueprint is not just wisdom alone. You have prudence, understanding. That's what you hung out with. You know what I mean? All these guys are around. So when we talk about Torah, we're saying, what is the will of God and what God had in mind for us to do? How are we going to replenish the earth and subdue it and make it more enhanced? How are we going to develop it if we don't follow the plan that the Creator brought us? So we need instruction. We need that kind of prudence. We need that kind of understanding. Wisdom saying, look, I'm going to lead you with that because these are some of my people I hang out with. I know I'm putting it a little bit, low colloquial, but I need the majority of people to understand where I'm coming from. All right, continue.
It reads, now therefore ye children, now therefore ye children, hearken unto me, for happy are they that keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise and refuse it not. Happy is the man that hearkeneth to me, watching daily all at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors. For whoso findeth me findeth life, and obtaineth favor of Yehovah. But he that misseth me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death. Hallelujah.
All right. See, now I went a little fast, and there's a lot of stuff on me. I spent a lot of time on the Sidra, but there's so much stuff in there, and I see so many people read it, in different, around the circles of the disciples, the late, great Akbar Levy, Ben Levy. One of the things is that when we look at that, is that wisdom letting you know that you're going to profit by it. That's what it letting you know you're going to profit by it. And then as we get up into it, when a person say, I sought wisdom, I tried hard, and I gave everything I got, and I could never get no wisdom. Don't believe them, because they ain't seek it. And if a person say, well, I naturally got wisdom, don't believe him either, because it don't come naturally like that. Wisdom lets you know that it can be found if you're really looking for it. And also, it's not just going to be easily attained. If I'm calling, you got to answer the call. I'm where you can see me, and you can see the difference between me and the other stuff. And I gave you examples of my resume. Where, immorality is based on other objects, and wisdom itself is not just a frame of thought. It's a purpose of action. That's what it is. And that's what it explains. Because when they talk about part of the resume, and when the people get it, they say, this is what they do. They put my stuff into action, into works. So it's like in the Enter the Father. It's the deeds, not creeds. So I hope you got something on what I said. I know I've been a little long lately, but Genesis happened to be a thing I like, so as well. And I tend to focus on some of the very family matters that exist there. And any mistakes been my own. I want to address one thing I forgot to say in the beginning. I think it was a question about, well, two things to think. I think the woman was speaking in reference to a pillow talk with Leah, and then did Leah really wear a veil? A tradition in that, a women that wear a veil all the time, we know that. But we've seen that Rivka, when she found out, I said, who's that man in the field? And he said, that's Isaac. That's when she took the veil and covered herself. So, and she comes from that same household. So that's how she covered herself then as a young bride going to meet her husband. So it's normal for a woman to actually go ahead on and and wear a veil in the Eastern cultures on a wedding night. In some sects, the veil be so thick, you wonder if the woman breathing underneath there, because they would have a real thick veil. So you normally say, well, I hope that's the same one there that I went through all this trouble with. But anyway, we know, and it also goes to explain that Leah also was beautiful, and most traditions said he was actually twins, identical twins as well. And the voice, and she did a lot of talking, and she, most, being the first night, the first encounter, the first, thing, there could be a lot of talking going on in a situation like that. Most of the time, all the talk was done prior to that time. All right, so, and if it's any questions asked, it might be Can't tell much from a voice like that. So with that, I hope you got something on what I said. Any mistakes by my own, and Any questions, just leave it in the chat, and I'll try to address them the best I can if I'm able.
Well, I do have a question. It's about the Sidra and the Dinah, right? So when you read the instance of Dinah, it just says that he lay with her. But when you read the instance of Tamar, it says that he used I think the word
that word is still used there with Dinah as well.
It says right here.
Yes, it used it in Genesis.
Why aneha?
Yeah, it's like a punishment, an abuse.
Oppressed, like
yeah, and also it's like affliction, like the same word we use for young and
they used it for Dinah in what verse?
Same verse, same exact verse. Let me
see.
Pull it out.
Because with Dinah it says.
Let me just go back to it. Let me get this
34 verse 2.
Yeah. Where the action happened.
So
yes.
Wayar Ota Shechem ben Hamor.
All right, let me see.
Ikiwi.
All right.
Nesi'e ha'eretz. Wayikwak Ota. Wayishkav Ota. Wa'ane. Well, I guess that's it. Wa'ane.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Wayaneha. Wayaneha. That's it. That's the word there.
Her. Wa'ane.
Right. Yeah.
From Anah.
All right. All right. Wayishkak is laying with her.
Right. Lay with her. Right.
All right. From the word shokeh. I'm laying down.
Right.
All right.
From your shot. What from shakav.
Yeah. Shokeh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need shokeh. Right. So both of them terms used there. That's why I said it's not just a sexual act; it's a punishment as well. Abuse.
Okay.
You okay?
No. You get. You gotta go through the Torah with a fine tooth comb so that you could get understanding. I mean, that's why it's good to know the language. That's why it's good to know the language. That's all I'm saying. I don't got no beef with you. I don't got no.
No. I'm supporting that same word is used over here.
Of course, I'm just, but I'm gonna get deeper into understanding of that because I've always tended to think that she didn't get raped. I know I didn't learn. I just from reading the story, it didn't feel like she got raped. But I just have to kind of do more research on it.
Just to bring the other argument out,
right.
just the other argument on it,
right.
And the majority says rape because of the two words that's used there.
Right.
And she's still held captive, and they had to bring her out the house from over there. They brought her from there. All right. All right. So the other people would say because they use the term. I try to avoid that because I like to still with the pashat, the simple text. Since it said it was Dinah, the daughter of Leah. Leah came out and met Yaakov in the field, so she was more outgoing and said, "Look, you ain't going over to Rachel's house tonight. You're going with me. I done brought you." All right, that kind of boldness. Also, she tells Yaakov, "You're gonna take Zilpah, because my son, I hired you, for the handmaid and all that kind of stuff, what I mean." So all that, so that's why they use, and and her naming, judge from the root judge, in that sense, but who was being judged, was it Leah being judged, or was it Yaakov for not letting his brother see her and figure he might want her? So those are some areas that, I'm aware of a lot of different things in that area, but I just try to keep it in one area.
We build up understandings from what we read and what we feel for most part, but I mean it's to get the whole entire wisdom out of something in order to be able to pass it on to people, and you're not misleading people. We're not misleading people. We want to make sure
Right,
that
baby.
people
Yes.
really understand it. I think that's the most important thing, and I think that that's what we strive to do, and what you try to do with all these lessons is very important. So I don't think I got any questions this week. Usually I have a couple of questions.
That's all right. I mean, you got. I guess when you and Binyami gonna be working on the Hanukkah thing, so and the menorah and all that stuff, and everything like that. So you know, what I mean, so and the thing is that whether you know,
Do you want to give a word on Hanukkah, meaning that is coming in on Thursday evening?
right now, you know, being up, I know I'm doing the Proverbs, and I always go with highlights and certain things like that.
Okay.
And I'd rather let the flow stay that way. But if I was in person or something like that, then it'd be a different story and stuff like that. But
Okay then.
But one of the great things about the Hanukkah thing to think about and consider going forward is that they did the 8 days. Now you don't got to go with the the midrash and the Talmudic thing about that oil lasting, but and they got a lot of reasons to support that area. But the thing is that it's because they wasn't able to observe Sukkot, which was the 8th month. This is the 9th month. And Sukkot is actually a rededication.
Right.
So when you do a Sukkot, you actually rededicate yourself, because you just left Yom Teruah, just left Yom Kippur. So now you're a whole nother individual, and you're trying to start off fresh. And you're starting off humble. And you say, remind you of Egypt. So that, so in all our days, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, all right, redemption, sanctification, and rededication.
And there you have it. There you have it. Put the closing statements, and thank you, Nasik, once again for your words and for your understanding that the Most High God has blessed you with. And I pray that everyone out there have a great day, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone. And we'll see you, Yah willing, the following week. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.